Welcome to my channel, All for Health with Jane. Family, on the past two videos, the last two, our focus, the focus was on Advocate Mnisi cross-examining Brigadier Gininda. And the other one was Advocate Nxumalo cross-examining Brigadier Gininda. Now on this one, we are going to focus more on Attorney Ramosepele going through the cross-examination as well. On his cross-examination, Attorney Ramosepele focuses more on the description that was given by the people who were in the house, Kohakumalo. So the description they gave, Attorney Ramosepele is not happy about the generic description that was given by those people when they were describing, especially Bongani and Tanzi. So family, we are going to watch and listen as Advocate Attorney Ramosepele is doing that. Let's watch.
All the accused are now here, man.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Yes,
Ramosepele is busy with process.
Here. Ramosepele.
Thank you, Madam. Morning, Brigadier.
Morning, sir.
Now, yesterday when we adjourned, I had just asked you a question to which you responded that in the description to Warrant Officer Steenkamp, the witnesses that were in the house, and some of them, because I do believe that Mthokozisi Twala consulted with me, Warrant Officer Steenkamp much later. But those that consulted with Warrant Officer Steenkamp on the 29th, they did not give the description of suspect B. And your answer was that it's correct. However, in their statements, they do mention some descriptions. That's where we ended, you remember?
That is correct, my lord.
And in the descriptions that they gave, the people that were in the house, they gave the description of the second suspect as the following. He was much taller than the first intruder. He was wearing a hoodie. He was dark in complexion.
Yes, that although I can't recall vividly, my lord, as to how it's outlined, it's lined up, but yes, to that effect, that is a description of the second suspect in terms of the description, my lord.
And from their description in their statements, especially the initial statements of the 29th, or even supplementary statements that they made thereafter, did they make any specific or provide specific features or characteristics like the O-type beard, the soul patch, and golden teeth?
No, my lord, I can't remember specifically because these witnesses made various statements. The first statement that they made, it's on the 27th, actually, of October. Subsequent to that, 2014, subsequent to that, then there were others who made a supplementary affidavit. So for me, to be precise, one will have to go through all those statements, to see exactly if they have not changed the initial description or not, my lord.
And now my suggestion will be the description given in their statements of taller than the first intruder, dark in complexion, and wearing a hoodie. It's a generic description. It can apply to many individuals.
My lord, that is correct. It is a generic statement. However, you need to take the description into the context of what is happening. Then the situation changes. Because in general, if you're talking about that description, for example, in the middle of the city, it is general because the likelihood there will be a number of people perhaps wearing a hoodie, particularly today since it's cold. But if you now take that description to the crime scene, it is specific because there's no other description or evidence that we've obtained that describe another person wearing a hoodie. So there is only one individual that is described as wearing a hoodie, including the witnesses. None of them were wearing a hoodie. So then it becomes unique if you take it in that context. But furthermore, my lord, so with that description, sorry, Mr. Ramosepele, if now you take that description, and I won't go into details, you take that description, you then marry it to the investigation and subsequent the evidence that was obtained against number 2, my lord. The picture then changes completely, because then it shows that the evidence points to suspect B, and suspect B, in terms of the investigation, points to accused number 2, my lord.
I understand your explanation, Brigadier, but my question was simple. In their statements, I understand that you want to marry to the background and what you now know, but in their statements, that is a generic description that somebody is tall, somebody is dark, and somebody had a hoodie. If the police go on that and say, go and look for somebody tall, dark, wearing a hoodie, at that time on the 26th, they could have picked up 10, 20 people.
No, I disagree, my lord. If you take, because you need to take this into context, the description is given indeed for the 26th of October 2014, and the time is indicated, and it is very specific where this tall, dark individual with a hoodie went into. He went to the Kumalo's house. Subsequently, there was a shooting, and people then ran out. Now, if police follow that lead, there is no way they will arrest the wrong person, because there is no evidence in this docket that during that commotion, there were more than one person wearing a hoodie and others were innocent persons. There's only one individual, which is suspect B, that was wearing a hoodie. So there couldn't be a mistake that will arrest wrong people. You'll either not find people or arrest the right person, my lord.
Brigadier, it's a point that I'm not going to have a tete-a-tete with you. This is a point that I'll argue at the end of this, the whole case. Should we arrive there to say this was a general or a generic description, it could have matched 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people by saying somebody is tall, dark, wearing a hoodie. But I'll leave it at that. Now, and I'm still talking about the statements of the witnesses in the house. That's where we ended up yesterday. And in their statements, did they mention a specific color of the hoodie, the witnesses that were in the house?
We don't mean to interfere with my learned friend's cross-examination, but what is the point of focusing on what the witnesses have said when they were here in court, they've testified, and they were cross-examined on the contents of their statement? Now, what is the point of asking Brigadier Gininda to comment on their statements when they have already testified? We submit, my lord, that it's unfair to ask Brigadier Gininda on the details of those statements when they've already testified. This is a point that can be taken up by my learned friend, as is correctly pointed out in argument, my lord.
As the court insists, my lord, you see, I'm not sure even the basis of the objection. Hence, I've said there are certain pillars of objection that I'm irrelevant, I'm repetitive, I'm badgering the witness. I don't know what the basis of this objection is, but simply, my lord, when I asked Brigadier Gininda whether the witnesses in the house provided or furnished warrant officer Steenkamp with a description of suspect B, he said, I'll answer it in 2 parts. On the main, no, but in their statements, they did say the description. Now, this leads me to this.
Well, my learned friend has asked us what is the pillar of our objection. It's an unfair question. It's an unfair question in the sense that the witnesses have testified, they've given their version, they were cross-examined. Now, what is the point of asking Brigadier Gininda to comment on their statement? We submit that, and if my learned friend wants a pillar, we're saying it's an unfair question to the witness.
Okay. Brigadier Gininda, if you can answer, you can say, I cannot comment because I did not make those statements. You can answer for yourself, you've got a mouth. Can you comment on what I've put to you?
Yomeli uma ngaba uyakhona ukuthi uphendule manje nombuzo kade ubuzile ungakhona ukuthi uphenduleke mangabe unayo impendulo.
No, my lord, I didn't make those statements. Okay. All I can comment about is the investigation. But to comment as to what the person said, as I've said, my lord, one will have to go through those statements with, as there are more than one statement to really recall what people have said. But I was not the author, neither the commissioner of oath when those statements were taken. So I can only comment on the investigation, and if I have to be specific in terms of what is contained in their statements, one then will have to refresh his memory by going through those statements, my lord. I can, however, my lord, assist on Exhibit J, Warrant Officer Steenkamp, because we dealt with it and it's still fresh in my memory, and I can agree in that exhibit that the description of the hoodie is not given by the people who were inside the house in terms of the color, but is given rather by Makaleni, because they didn't describe suspect B. So that is the closest I can describe the color of the hoodie, and the color is described as black, my lord.
Now let's move to a different aspect, Brigadier. Did you, in the course of your investigations, interview any of the witnesses that were in the house who stated something like this, that now that the event happened a long time ago, I am unsure as to whether or not I can still identify the suspects that entered the house?
Yes, my recollection, my lord, it will be Mr. Mthokozisi Twala and Tumelo Mazala.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, with respect to Tumelo Madala, do you recall when you interviewed him and what he expressed to you about the certainty or uncertainty of identifying the suspects in future, should he see them?
No, my lord, I will not recall exactly what he said, but what I do recall, he didn't say he can't identify the person. He was not sure because of the time. At some stage, I'm just not sure whether it's him or it's Mr. Twala. They said it's 50-50. So it wasn't a denial that they can, but there was also no admission that 100% we can because of the time. So they were like in the middle, saying we are not really sure because of the time that has lapsed, my lord.
Hence I'm saying, Brigadier, I didn't say that. They didn't say they cannot. I said the uncertainty. Uncertainty embraces both sides of the spectrum. I may, I may not. I'm unsure. That's the uncertainty. And specifically, Brigadier, I don't want to waste time. If you've got 8216 in front of you, that's the statement that you took, and it relates to, on this aspect, to Melo Madala.
Yes, I do recall, my lord, that I took a statement from him.
But
I want you to have it and read it because I want to introduce it as an exhibit here in court. That will be a statement that was taken on the...
What is the index number 2?
Sorry, Brigadier, A216, because let me approach, my lord, may I approach my...
Yes.
Do you have it in front of you, Brigadier?
I just, what is the index
number? It was taken
number?
down on the 20th, sorry, Brigadier, the 5th November, 2020 at 1918 by yourself.
But what is the index number?
I said it's 8216, Brigadier.
216, no. My lord, can I ask maybe the state advocate to assist me, maybe with a copy of 216, because I seem to be struggling.
My lord, perhaps whilst, because I'll introduce it into evidence anyway, it's a shortish statement. Unfortunately, the Brigadier writes like a medical professor, so it's going to be difficult for me to read his handwriting. If I can give him my statement, it's only highlighted, there are no notes. He can read from it, then we'll
Yes.
make copies for the court and ask for it to be admitted as an exhibit.
So it reads as follows, my lord. I, the undersigned, Tumelo Brian Mazala, states further that on Sunday, the 25th of October 2020, I received a call. No, let me finish and read. I'll give it to you. Yeah. I received a call from Colonel Gininda during the course of the day. The colonel informed me that there are suspects that they have identified, and then said on the said case of the death of Senzo Meyiwa, I was informed that the suspects in questions are suspected to be involved in the said murder of Senzo Meyiwa. The colonel asked me if I will be able to identify any of the suspects I saw when the offense took place in October 2014. I informed the colonel that this incident took place a long time ago and I am not sure if I will be able to identify them. I indicated to him that I am not sure, in bracket 50-50, my lord. And then the next paragraph, it's a sworn, basically. I know and understand the contents of this statement. I have no objection of the taking of the prescribed oath. I consider the prescribed oath to be binding on my conscience. It is signed, my lord, by Mr. Mazala on the 5th of November 2020 and commissioned by me on the same day, my lord, 1918, my lord.
And Brigadier, in fact, at the time that statement was made and commissioned, you correct me if I'm wrong, all the 5 gentlemen that are accused of these offenses were already in custody, correct?
Correct, my lord.
And in fact, 2 days later, they appeared for the first time at the Boksburg Magistrates Court on their first appearance, correct?
Yes, my lord, on the 27th of October 2020.
Now, Brigadier, let me briefly move over again to a different aspect. I did touch on it the last time, but I just want to finalize it, and then I'll be done with my cross of you. This aspect relates to the following. There was no identity parade held in respect of the 5 gentlemen sitting and standing here before court, correct?
Yes, it was not done, my lord.
And the last time when we went over this point, you'll correct me if I'm paraphrasing you correctly. You stated that one of the reasons was that already they had been to a previous identity parade involving the arrest of the first suspect in this matter, Mr. Mbata. And for that reason, you saw no necessity of holding another ID parade. Am I paraphrasing you correctly? Or you can state how you put that answer.
No, my lord, my recollection, and that played a very critical role. I've indicated that it was a prosecutorial-driven investigations. So you get guided as people aligned in terms of the course of investigations. And I think when I referred to the first ID parade, it was in relation, in my recollection, my lord, it was in relation to Mrs. Kumalo Senior in terms of her and the people who went to identify the wrong person. It was in that context, but in essence, the investigation was prosecutorial driven. And I indicated, obviously, insofar as my interview I had with these 2 witnesses, Mr. Mazala and Tumelo Mazala and Mr. Mthokozisi Twala, in terms of what they said, in terms of the identification, my lord, at that time.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the specific circumstances or that led you not to hold, because it's prosecutorial-driven investigation, the prosecutors that you were conferring with told you not to hold, conduct an ID parade. Is that how I should understand you to be saying?
No, my lord. When you work with prosecution, and that's my experience, most of the time when they give you guidance is for the purpose of them preparing the prosecution. So if they push you to that direction or direct you to go to a certain direction, it does not mean that the other party are blocking you from it. It's a strategy that they're adopting. They give guidance, we follow it. Hence, I said, on our part, I was able to interview the two witnesses and the statement speaks for themselves. But in the guidance, I can't speak to them to say, this is it, they didn't want us to do it. There's a reason in terms of how they execute their job insofar as I understand, my lord, but I can't speak on their behalf.
Let me ask it differently. You as the lead investigator, was the holding of an ID parade in respect of the 5 gentlemen before the court ever a consideration?
Athi-ke takubuza lobuzo ngale ndlela elandelayo. Njengoba kade kuwena ke bohola ke ithimba labaseshi becala. Ngabe wena-ke wacabanga ukuthi kumele nibaye lapho-ke bokwenza identification parade phecelezi noma mayelana nodaba lwabasola Bongani?
Not the 5 gentlemen, my lord, because you do an ID parade in relation to the crime scene, so you don't do it in isolation. If you have 5 accused and you have witnesses saying we saw 5 accused, then your consideration will be responding to your preliminary investigation. What we have on the crime scene is that 2 suspects, Suspect A and Suspect B, were seen going into the house, and the statement speaks for themselves. So the consideration that would have went into my mind is insofar as the 2 suspects that went into the house, not 5, because it is clear from the description and the statements obtained that reference is made only to 2 and not 5. And then subsequent to that, investigation clearly indicated what role each suspect, accused, that is added on this matter played, and no such investigation suggests that all 5 were inside the house, my lord. So the consideration at the time was insofar as the 2 suspects that we suspected that they may have went into the house, my lord. Hence, my lord, you see the statements of the 25th of October now before the appearance, because one wanted to establish if such an anti-parade should be conducted or not. In the response of saying they're not certain, I thought then it will take us nowhere, because it would have been different if the response said, yes, we're 100% sure, or mostly certain that we'll be able to do it. Then such would have been conducted, my lord, because we still had 2 days before the first appearance.
Now, when I asked you about the identification parade pertaining to the arrest of Mr. Mbata, you mentioned something about Makumalo. I did not get you. Can you clarify that for me?
No, I was simply saying, my lord, she played a role in identifying Mr. Mbata on that ID parade. That is now back in 2014. That was before our time, my lord. That's all that I was saying in that context, my lord.
And before your time as well, do you know if Zandile Kumalo identified somebody as suspect B at that ID parade?
No, I don't have a recollection, my lord. Otherwise, I'll have to double check, but I don't have a recollection, my lord.
With certainty, Brigadier, and I'll allow you to consult the relevant pages or the relevant 329 ID parade procedures that were held in respect of Mr. Mbata. Zandile Kumalo pointed at somebody else at that ID parade.
My lord, I was not there. As I said, that was before my time. They didn't conduct that ID parade. I did not participate in it. I was not even the investigating officer, so I'm not sure how really can I assist, whether she did or did not. I was not there, my lord, and it was before my time.
It may not assist you, Brigadier, but it will assist in a long way, Mr. Ntanzi, because the same Zandile Kumalo came here, sniffles, crocodile tears and all, pointing at Mr. Ntanzi, saying he's suspect B that she saw at the house on the 26th of October 2014.
As a court, please, my lord, we really don't want to interfere with Marlene's friend's cross-examination, but 2 aspects. Firstly, Brigadier Gininda testified about the additional evidence or the new evidence. Now he's been cross-examined about aspects that he didn't testify about. That is the first thing. But secondly, my lord, being cross-examined about the holding of identification parade regarding the identification of Mr. Mbata. That identification parade form has been handed up as an exhibit. The witnesses have testified, they've been cross-examined on. Now, it's unfair now to put it to Brigadier Gininda that Ms. Zandi Kumalo came here and shed tears when she has already testified and confronted about her own identification. We submit, my Lord, that these are aspects that can be argued and should not be put to Brigadier Gininda. So we say, my Lord, this firstly is unfair, and secondly, these are aspects that he did not testify about as part of the new evidence.
To be fair to you, and partially so, because you are the IO, you are privy to the entire contents of that docket. You are the ship, the commander of that ship. But I'll be fair to you, I'll argue that point correctly. But that Zandile came here crying and all sorts of acting here, it did happen, and I'm unapologetic about that. My Lord, those are my questions. I'm grateful.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, family, for watching this video to the end. Please do not forget to like it, subscribe for my channel if you haven't done so. Thank you. Bye.